Hi.
Hi.
So I just thought this would be lovely to talk to you about moving forward and what you're working on and thinking about for your next projects.
So I guess I've come up with a few ideas for things I want to do next. Well, for one, I've been watching the dirt collect on these pedestals, and I think it really mirrors the way that people, sort of track their own dirt in here. And whenever anyone comes in to talk with me, they come in with a different set of problems that they're trying to work out, right? So it's very similar to the way that people come in with this dirt on their shoes and then they leave it here. So I was thinking it'd be really cool. I definitely, in my next pieces, want to really consider, what people are tracking in. So I was thinking, even if one gallery were to let me just paint the floor white, so that you could just watch footprints appear. Cool.
And that term is used, right? Your footprint, your
footprint.
Climate footprint, or your footprint you're tracking. That I respond to that because when I came in here and I had a choice of whether I could stand or sit.
And you could sit on people's footprints.
I didn't want to sit on the footprints.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what that relationship is of the standing up, and I think that since I see that, EMMATRON, or just the standing up, so that is, and the marks, so it's the marks, and do you think about evidence with that, or tracking, or?
Tracking, well, I mean, there's sort of it creates a, those paintings that, I don't even know what they're called, but it sort of has footprints, and you're supposed to learn how to dance by walking on the footprints.
So like mapping.
Yeah, mapping. I've been thinking about that and how you can sort of map the dance of a gallery that way. If you were to paint a whole gallery's floor white, you could see which pieces people stood in front of the most, or how they were standing when they were looking at it. So I think that could be a really fruitful exploration for me, definitely. And then on the opposite side of that coin, I was thinking that, in Shinto Japanese households, and my mom always considered our household to be Shinto Japanese, you always take your shoes off before you enter the door. And I was thinking about how that connotes a different sort of respect for the space than tracking your dirty shoes in. So I'm thinking about it'd be really interesting to do a piece where people are forced to take off their shoes before they enter, as sort of an opposite thing.
In thinking about that's so, in terms of when I came in here and was speaking about, I just came back right now, before here was the Japanese American Museum, that's where I just came from, and then you're speaking about
all these things.
And I wanted to just still talk about the marks and the tracking, and what is there a relationship to abstraction? Abstraction. In terms of the marks and the representation of that, the abstraction, and what your relationship is to abstraction.
Abstraction in terms of abstract painting, or what do you?
I don't know. That's what I was just thinking about asking you, because the marks, or that tracking, can become an abstraction, right?
Totally.
And so I was just thinking, in your work that I'm familiar with, that there's been a voicing, right? There's a, in terms of that, right? And what is your relationship to abstraction?
Well, so for some reason, you saying those things just conjured this memory for me. Did you see the Gutai exhibition at the Guggenheim? And there were so many works where Gutai artists would make tracks, literally put the canvases on the ground, and then make tracks on them with remote control cars, or like, you know, I'm even remembering this one where a person, one of the artists, rolled around in mud. So yeah, maybe I mean, coming from a background with a focus on Shinto, Japanese, you know, purity, right? Because we always like to keep the floors clean. Maybe that has been a very Japanese obsession, like the sort of abstract marks that, you know, a body makes when it makes dirt, right? It's weird because I'm like finding myself thinking in ways that, you know, other Japanese artists think, and I didn't even grow up in Japan, right? Because the Gutai were abstract artists in a certain way, but very physical at the same time. So yeah.
What Japanese artists do you follow, or Japanese art forms do you use at all in terms of your practice, or in theory, or in life? Is there?
You know, it's funny because I still remember the first time. I'm sure you remember this too. You know, the first time you see an art piece that you realize is an art piece. You know, because you go to museums and stuff when you're little, but you're just sort of like, all right. But then the first time you see an art piece and you're like, oh, this is what art is. I always remember my first time experiencing that was when I was 10 years old. When I was 10 o'clock. When I was 10 o'clock and I was at the Whitney Biennial. And that was like one of the first times that Yayoi Kusama made an infinity room, like before it became this like hype thing.
Which you can see at the Broad.
Right. But like, yeah, before, you know, when I went there, she wasn't really as big as she is now, so there was no line. I was 10 years old, I just went straight in, they closed the door, and I was like, oh, I get art now. So Yayoi Kusama has always been an inspiration for me before she became Yayoi Kusama, you know.
But did you have an awareness that she was, or is it, a Japanese artist at that time? Was that?
I mean, as a 10-year-old, you barely know what race is, right? So it just was really. I just remember being in that room and being enchanted. But there was a connection. There was a kinship. There was a connection, and you felt that artwork was speaking to you. Yeah, that's beautiful. I think definitely. You know, being this piece, another thing it has taught me, you know, so my mom is half Japanese, half Chinese, and I've like been spending so much time in Chinatown. I've really been thinking about how I want to address race more in my future artwork, because I think a lot of my past artwork has been solely about being a woman, and not enough about my mixed racial background. So. Yeah, I guess I've just been having a lot of Asian thoughts while I'm here. And to be thinking about what isn't spoken about, what isn't addressed, what isn't spoken about, and I would like to talk to you about that at some point. And I am for my practice right here, that is something I'm thinking about, and I'm working right now with a Japanese American artist. And I thank you for having this artwork here, because I have an opportunity to talk to you that we can envision here together. And I am inspired by you, and to have this exchange, and so it's just really moving. And so let's continue the conversation. Great. Thank you so much. Are you going to email me? Oh yes, I'm going to be there. Thank you, Emma. Thank you. Perfect. Wait, how do I stop it here? The new iPhone. It's recording, but I've got to figure out how I'm stopping it here. Probably unlock first. Yeah.